The #1 job of any fire department is to keep you safe. And each year, the Spokane Fire Department puts out a community risk assessment.
It gives the department a broader understanding of who it's serving, what the risks are, and how it can tailor its resources to reduce those risks.
Jamie McIntyre thinks about risk all the time.
We respond to fire and medical incidents throughout the city of Spokane, and that means that our risks are going to be a really broad array.
As the Spokane Fire Department's risk reduction manager,
this up here is a sensor.
McIntyre is responsible for the community risk assessment. Some of the biggest risks are things you might expect, like building fires. Spokane Fire's data shows 70% of building fires are in low-income neighborhoods.
Residential fires are getting bigger in low-income neighborhoods, which tells us that the education as well as the engineering interventions are important for us to install free smoke alarms in those communities.
Wildfires are another obvious risk because Spokane sits in a wildland-urban interface where developed land mixes with nature. Spokane Fire recently hired a wildland planner to help with this.
So we're finding those high-risk areas, working on city properties as well as with homeowners on what they can do to make their communities a little safer.
McIntyre says there are even funds available to help reduce fire risk on your property. Other risks, though, aren't so obvious. Spokane Fire responds to a lot of safety-related calls, like care for homeless people and older adult falls.
So maybe we need to put some grab bars in or some other changes in their home, talk about removing fall risks with rugs. It's really an individual assessment for those fall needs.
In next year's community risk assessment, McIntyre hopes to figure out ways to better serve Spokane's refugee and immigrant communities.
Some people are coming from communities that have never had smoke alarms. Wildfire smoke is something that's completely different, or even when we talk about winter driving conditions or slips, trips, and falls in icy conditions, some people have really never encountered that.
But one thing that won't change is classroom education, because research shows much of what people learn about fire safety starts in preschool and elementary school.
When you ask an adult, where did you learn about what to do if there's a fire in your home? 80% of the time, it's that firefighter that came to my classroom.
Educating the community and educating themselves on how to better use its resources to keep you safe is what McIntyre and the community risk assessment are all about.
And in that risk assessment report, they have a matrix that shows like the number of responses for certain things and then the level of priority. So it is cool to hear them talk about, okay, our data shows this happens, so here's what we need to do.
Wow, yeah. I think it's really interesting, too, when they talk about the refugees coming in. That's a whole nother piece that we really hadn't talked about, or I hadn't heard about before.
Yeah, different things that you're not used to because you're living in a completely different part of the world now.
It's wild.